Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So this video is going to be entirely about the Grappler. So a Grappler is a fighter in Fatal Knockout. That name will most likely change, as anybody familiar with the fighting game community or fighting games in general, you'll know that the Grappler is simply just a name for an archetype in a fighting game. So the game is very much designed with all these base archetypes in mind, with the plan in the future to expand upon them and have multiple fighters of the same archetype. During the Kickstarter campaign, there will be different updates which allow people to vote on names for these fighters, but for now it's just called the Grappler. When the name is changed, I'll probably go back to this video and change the title of it. So yeah, here is the Grappler fighter. So he is one of the fighters with probably the most damage, least movement, and one of the highest average initiatives. If you haven't seen any videos on how Fatal Knockout works, like how to play, or the quick turn example, which I did, just to clarify, the initiative is the number in the top left of the card, and the way it works in this game is that lowest initiative goes first in the turn order. So if you have a low average initiative, it simulates the fighter's speed, but more concretely and practically in the game, it means that more often than not, your cards will be going first in the turn order for the game. So, with the Grappler, like every other fighter, there is an asymmetric player board. The asymmetry comes entirely in the form of the meter track. Unlike most fighters, sorry for hitting the mic there, unlike most fighters, the Grappler has the ability to regain burn tokens. Now, burn tokens are what you need. As you can see, you've also got the ability to place burn tokens on your map. Up to 3 times per game, you have the ability to burn cards from your hand into your pocket and then subsequently a discard pile, so it's like just discarding cards, really. But with this fighter, is you will have more than 3 per game, more than 3 opportunities to burn cards, because you can regain them via your meter. The thing with the Grappler is you gain meter incredibly slowly as well. If you play every single card in your deck, by the time you get to the point where you discard cards, you will have fully gained your meter track. But there are other fighters in the game, such as the Gunslinger, who only have 4 cards which allow you to gain meter, but they gain very, very quickly. So if you start with those cards, or you burn to get those specific cards, by turn 2 or turn 3, you could have fully gained your meter. So, with the Grappler, there is one unique mechanic. Most fighters have a specific unique mechanic. If they don't have that, then they have a new and unique way to play. So with the Grappler, you have, as you can probably imagine, the ability to command grab, as you call it in a fighting game, or with this it's just grab. If we get to focus on the card there. There you go. So at the bottom action there of charge and smash, you can see that you can grab. Now, this is a very powerful and unique ability because, first of all, it completely ignores shields. It doesn't break them. So you do have some attacks, so they are few and far between in this deck, that allow you to just attack normally, in which case, like, if you grab someone and then attack them, you still need to be wary of their shield because they will still have it, unlike most attacks which break shield. So it completely negates shield. So if you are going on with, if you are playing as a fighter who is very good at shielding and protecting themselves, then you have that advantage there. So you have the grab, and not only does it completely negate shield, it also, if you can maybe infer from the card there, it grabs the player in front of you. So it grabs the space in front and throws them behind you, doing damage on the space behind you, and that maintains their orientation. So that's another very powerful tool. Maybe it will only come across as powerful to people who have played the game, but the reason why it's powerful is because orientation in Fatal Knockout is incredibly important. And if you imagine a scenario where a player is facing you, so if I can grab another fighter, so you've got like a player facing you in front of you, which is obviously quite imposing because most abilities in Fatal Knockout are forward facing, so you'll have the most opportunity to attack someone. But yeah, so if you've got the zoner here in front of you, if you grab them, you'll flip them over like that and put them on behind you, and then they are now facing away from you, which is incredibly powerful, a bit more nuanced than just like being able to break through shields, because you know you have to infer and get used to the gameplay to see how powerful it actually is. But yeah, incredibly powerful. Just to talk one more time about the meter gain. the Grappler is the most unique deck in terms of meta game because it is the only deck where every single card in your deck gains you meter. So you're always, regardless of which card you play, you're always moving along that meter. So you can see, like we've seen with Charge and Smash, you've got the meter gain at the top. Safe Attack, meter gain at the top. They all give you 1 meter as well. Close in, 1 meter at the top. And that, again, is to simulate sort of the slow and steady pace of the Grappler, but also, like, sort of the character as well. So, like, not only are we trying to simulate mechanics which you see in fighting games, we're also trying to simulate their personality as well. This guy is very slow and methodical. He goes at his own pace. So, also, just a note with these fighters, let's just take these 3 cards just off the top of the deck here, not really pit them, but just to show you an example. Out of these 3 cards, you've got Close In, you got Pull, you got Pull and Smash, sorry, and you've got Quick Grab. Now, Quick Grab is very powerful, and I'll explain why later. That's actually in the player guide of, like, this is a card to look out for. But out of these 3 cards, there is only 1 card which allows you to move, and it's only 1 space forward or 1 space backwards. Like in most fighting games, this is the disadvantage to the Grappler. First of all, the advantage is that if they get close to you and they can trap you in a corner, for example, or just trap you anywhere on the board on the stage, then they will do devastating amounts of damage to you, and there will be almost nothing you can do about it because of the ability to ignore shields. Also, there are plenty of pull options as well for the Grappler to pull people in and keep them there if they're trying to escape. Disadvantage, though, is if you're playing against, for example, the Zoner, who I'll do a video for as well, so here's a Zoner. They specialize in zoning. They specialize in long-distance attacks. Very, very ranged character, like loads of range. Their space of like lethal damage is in between space like 2 and 4 away from them, whilst the Grappler is entirely 1 space in front or behind them, and most often not in front of them, as I've said before. So, if you're playing against a Zoner, and they can stay away from you, then you're going to struggle. But the advantage is that if you do manage to close the gap, if you do manage to get in that space, and there are a couple of cards which allow you to move 2 spaces forward or backwards to just sort of like closing the gap, and those cards obviously don't have any attack on them, then that's when you can start doing damage whilst also feeling safe as well, because the way the game works is that every character which has range lacks in close range. So if they, like the Zoner, they only have, I think, 1 attack, which is 1 space away from them, so close range. So if you're stood right next to them, you have the confidence, unless they have that specific card out of the 14 cards in the deck, that you are not going to be taking any damage, which is obviously very good. But yeah, the Quick Grab is very good because it's situational. Like a lot of Grappler's very good cards, they are situational, so you do need to play quite carefully. So if you're facing away from a fighter but also right next to them, then you can rotate and grab them at 1 initiative. So that's if you're in that situation, it's guaranteed damage. There are some cards in the game which are 0 initiative, which might be able to get you out of there if you have played your resources correctly, because they're usually resource-based cards, like for example the Guitarist. But yeah, so this is a fan favorite for a lot of people, because the Grappler can oftentimes struggle to get in those situations where they can do damage, but once they're there and they draw the Quick Grab, then they're just beaming, really. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the Grappler. They are the least complex fighter to play. They are a fighter which I recommend everyone who's new to Fatal Knockout to play, because not only they don't have things which are too unique about them. Everything is very slow paced. Players can think about what they need to do without having to think of too many variables. But also the grab mechanic teaches you the fundamentals of orientation in the game, which is so important. But yeah, so that's it. That's the Grappler. Hopefully you guys got an idea of how to play him, whether or not it's your type of fighter. I'm going to be making a bunch of these videos so you can see through the different fighters which one is probably your type. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.